Hey, how's it going? Hi, this is take two. I can't believe I have to do this again. Okay, here is, well, let me tell you what I'm doing first. Today I'm going to talk about the Netflix original from 2021, Midnight Mass. And here's my disclaimer board. Also has the cast listed on it, so when I'm behind it, I can't really see very well what I'm showing you. So I'm just going to do this and go slowly, and you can pause it on your own device if you need to see stuff longer or better. Yes, I know there are better ways to do this. I just don't know how. If you want to help me, feel free. I will not be insulted. So, did you get a look? I want to remind everyone this is entertainment commentary. Please don't take it so seriously. I'm just this person you do not know that doesn't mean anything in your life, really. So if you don't like what I'm saying, I can't tell you not to. But you can certainly, you don't have to be here. Which reminds me of another thing. I don't do the other thing that everyone does on YouTube because I feel like if you want to be here, then be here. If you don't, don't. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. So, let's start all over. I was out of stuff to watch until I get money again. And so I was just sort of looking. And I have mentioned before that Netflix stuff comes in my email. And so I was looking at this. I don't know what they call the little things in Netflix on the screen. Netflix. The little things that you click on that have your movie on them. When I still lived in Hollywood, I worked at a place that used to make the movie posters that you see in movie theaters on the outside that they call a one sheet. So I always call these little icons that you click on a one sheet. So in the one sheet for Mass or Midnight Mass, it's described as horror, which is not usually my jam. I liked it when I was younger in the 1970s, and then it went into a phase, or it does things now that I'm, or from like the late 70s up till like the present, it started doing things that I didn't want to watch. So I'm not like a big horror person. But the reason why I watched it is because I saw that Hamish Linklater was in it. And I know, I've seen a lot, but it wasn't until I think maybe 2 years ago now, or a year ago, something like that, that I saw him in Brave New World, which was a series on Peacock. And I may have done a video on it. I don't remember, but if I haven't, I need to. The story is awesome. If you have read Brave New World, it's, I believe, Aldous Huxley is the author. I've been getting those kind of off and wrong sometimes because, I don't know, my mind is scrambled. But he's in that, and like I said, I've seen him in a lot of things, and he must have done a lot of stuff where he plays a Brit, because when I was looking into him after watching that show, I discovered that he is an American, and he fooled me real good. And I'm sad that Brave New World, I guess, has gotten canceled, and I'm thinking it might have something to do with the other co-star, Russel Emerick, because he got into some some Me Too mess where he was, I don't know, touching people who didn't want him to touch them, and acting like it was his right because he's rich and famous, which you guys got to get out of that thing. Like, you got more money and more people know who you are. You're still you. And I'm sorry, not impressed. Especially when they do that stuff. I don't know what that was about. And they ruined like a show that I was liking. Maybe someone else will pick it up. Maybe Netflix. Who knows? Anyway, that's where I knew Hamish Linklater from. And I was like, oh, I'm totally watching it because I like him. And so that's why I clicked on it. I was in between shows. Saw Hamish Linklater, and I thought, heck, I'll just give it a try. And It actually is not in the jump scare vein of horror. It was in more of the kind of thing that I like a Salem's Lot kind of deal. Although I have to say, I found Salem's Lot as a novel far scarier than I did uh, the TV series that, God, I think they've done it again, but the one I saw originally had David Soul from Starsky and Hutch in it, and he just didn't match my mind character, but that's how it goes. Anyway, um, so when I was writing up the cast list here, I got pretty far along, and I do it all the time. I collected from IMDb, and I do shuffle things around because this show in particular had a very large cast, and I wasn't going to include everybody. There's not enough room. Um, and huge cast. Sorry, I know I'm blanking out. The show has a huge cast, and I didn't want to include everyone on here as I didn't have room. Oh, well, okay. So I had to shuffle stuff around, but I noticed that, wait a second, I'm writing pretty far down here. Where the hell is Hamish Linklater? Did I miss Linklater? Did I miss his name? And then I saw that it must be listed in order of appearance because he's not in it immediately from the beginning. I'm not okay with that because I feel like his character's story and his character are like the story. There's other stuff going on, but so okay, a couple of things about the one sheet and it being a horror. Okay, it's called Midnight Mass. It's got a picture of a church, and it looks like a dark and stormy, scary night. I mean, it has all the elements of like a horror, scary thing. And so if you're like me and you were raised any kind of Christian, I was raised Catholic. I went from like Head Start to third grade. So that's like 6 days a week of religious instruction, 3 days a week of church, 5 days a week of like chapels and religious instruction, and then on Sunday you got church and Sunday school. It is a lot. They stuff a lot of stuff into your head, most of which I was not sophisticated enough to understand the symbolism. I'm still just now getting some of that stuff. So it's a weird way that they decide to do stuff like that. Even Sunday school stuff. Sunday school. Oh no, Sunday school. They're still having to spoon feed you stuff, you know, and that's a problem. I'm not going to go into my whole problem with religious stuff. Take too long, no time. But one of the things you learn is the communion ritual, and I got to tell you, right away, when I started hearing things about eating the body of Christ and drinking the body of Christ's blood, like, you know that Christ was a man, right? Like, they tell you that over and over, and you see him stuck to the wall in pictures or hung up on crosses. Like, it's horrible. It's terrible. Like, why would you put your kids to look at, I don't know. Sorry, more of my religious stuff. Anyway, you know, Christ is man. Oh, the communion ritual. So yeah, so you know Christ is a man, and I remember as a pretty little kid thinking, well, that's weird. You don't eat and drink people. And then I learned about vampires like a little later, and I was like, okay, that's really weird. Either our stuff is based on vampire stuff, or you know, the vampire. I don't know. And then I learned about zombies, so resurrection was weird. It's like, I don't try to resolve it now. Then I was thinking with a child's mind, but really, you're gonna tell kids that stuff? Crazy. I thought it was crazy. So okay, I'm gonna get into the story a little bit. As I said, Linklater's character doesn't show up immediately. And so the story starts out with this little island community, and its activities are centered mainly around fishing and the church. I mean, there's other stuff like the town has to function, there's stores and that. So, you know, it's a town, but it's tiny. It's on an island, and they're isolated from the mainland, and they are fine with keeping to themselves. And it is a very religious community. There's a lot of like religious quotation and sort of like philosophical elements and quoting of stuff. And outside of this context, it would be bothersome, but it's really there for a reason in the story, and it all adds up together and blends well to make a really good package. But I'm just sort of unpeeling it a little bit to get what I have to say across. There is a woman who you will find one or more of in pretty much any church situation or temple or religious building that needs maintenance, like cleaning and restocking of candles, or doing the laundry of the vestments and whatever else they use, whatever they call the spreading on the table, the runners, I guess. I don't know if there's a religious name for them. There's a lot of cloth that gets used. And then, like, you know, the priests wear like regular clothes, and, you know, housework type stuff has to get done. And in this story, this woman is like a one-woman team, or she, you know, kind of acts like she's running the whole place. When by the time, well, okay, she acts like she's running the whole place. In fact, she acts like she's running the whole island. And not everyone on the island is a Christian, by the way. But this woman is so overbearing and self-important that she like acts like she controls, like she acts like everybody's parent or boss or something. And people are real nicer than I would be. I gotta tell you, from the beginning, I was already at the screen. When she said she was gonna go, I was like, so go already, go, leave. But she's one of those people in this movie. This character always has to have the last word, even if it was her last word. She's got to come back like 3 times, and people, you know, people are like, huh? Like they're thinking she's gone. It's like, she's back. And you would have that reaction if you watch this, because she's pretty heinous. So yeah, she's kind of running the show at the beginning, because they are collectively waiting for their Monsignor Pruitt to come back. Now he's left to go on the mainland for some religious purpose, and or it's known that he's aging and he's not doing well, so he goes for some kind of treatment. Now here's where the weird vampire thing comes in again. Well, what exactly is the church going to do when you're just old? It's not a Catholic story, so the element of sending the perv priest to the isolated place or to the new place don't really fly here. It doesn't apply. So what are they going to do? Because he's old and he's having problems and he's not performing well. Again, what are they going to do? Well, if the vampire element is a thing in reality, or in the reality of this story, then the church has been vampire the whole time. See, now I'm just spiraling off into other stuff. They don't say anything about this. This is just me thinking about it. But anyway, he comes back, and he actually is replaced until he can make a full recovery and return. And I felt kind of suspicious about it, because I just didn't believe the guy, what he was saying. And I think they do get a name out of him. I don't remember, because I don't think they ever call him that name. But I'm just going to tell you, the returning priest, who's young, is Pruitt, renewed. Okay, so he comes back. Everybody's been waiting for him, and the woman, the busybody, Mean Bev Keen, the judgmental lady I was just talking about, she's mean. Like, if you see it, she can find everything wrong with everybody else and find nothing wrong with herself. Even if someone that she knows well, takes the time to say it to her, she just doesn't accept it. Like, she's just great. She's God's gift, basically. So she's been running the show. The priest comes back as a young man, which, everyone doesn't know that at first, which is a reflection on this guy. Okay, and I have to interrupt myself here to talk about how dishonest this guy is. Now, I think in every church, even though they themselves don't follow the rule, it's more of a do as I say, not as I do kind of thing, but you're expected to be upfront and honest. This guy is not. He immediately comes in and starts telling them stories that are not true about himself. And I hope that you saw on the sign that there will be spoilers and to just expect it. So here comes one. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, so he starts off dishonest. And again, I'm going to spoil the crap out of this right now. The monsignor that left as an old guy, you get to see visions. You don't at first know if they're his visions, or like if you're having the vision and you're seeing it, or I don't know. The perspective is weird, but he's struggling through a storm, it looks like, and it looks like he's home on the island, but maybe he is, maybe he isn't. There's things that happen in the story that will have you questioning it, and I'm not going to give you my conclusion. I think that if you see it, that I'm just going to leave that to you. So, but it does look like he's home on the island, and he's having trouble. You can tell the weather's beating him up. His clothes are flying all over. He's struggling like he's slogging through sand or something, and he's giving a running narration, and he's talking about finding a cave, and he goes in the cave to shelter, and then in the cave someone's talking to him, and he turns around and it's an angel. Now, a couple of things. I'm just going to interrupt here and say that, like, again, I had the Catholic background, and so they talk about angels quite a bit in the Bible, and one of the things they say about the angels is that they have many faces, or at least 3, right? And that the angels scare people, and the first things they say always is, fear not, be not afraid. And then they say whatever they're going to say or do whatever they're going to do. And when the priest turns around to see who's speaking to him, what he sees, he refers to as an angel. But when I saw it, when they put the camera on it, I did not see an angel. I saw a huge vampire. It had one face, it had pointed ears, it had big wings. It looked like a vampire. And then again, that Christianity is so confusing with the eating of the body of the Christ and the drinking of the blood, and yeah, plays into this whole story. And there's a lot of religious stuff in here, a lot of quotes. I think I mentioned it works within the context of the story. Otherwise, it would bug the crap out of me. Like, I would feel like I was being proselytized to, and I do not care for that. Okay, so this story, it is scary, sort of. Intellectually, I guess you could say. But it has a lot of elements that, when I listen to my channels, they've been talking about this for a couple of years, where they're saying that our entertainment is going to change, where it's not going to be just violent and, crimes against women, crimes against minorities, just ugly stuff. It's not going to be that anymore. It's going to start being more positive and, I guess, happy and loving. So this story actually does have a lot of those elements. It has a lot of love stories, actually. It has spousal love, dear, dear friend love, earnest, youthful love, and forbidden love. Definitely forbidden love. And that takes me back to this dishonest priest or monsignor And it eventually, so okay, like I said, the old guy goes to the mainland for treatment or some kind of symposium or something, uh, and then he's struggling and he's like on the sand and having a hard time walking in. There's weather. He's in the cave with the vampire thing. Okay, so Pruitt, the people on the island are like waiting for the Monsignor to come back. So the young guy comes back, but the young guy, we all find out later, although I suspected it right away with all the vampire stuff, the young guy was actually the old guy, and he'd been vampire renewed. And yeah. So he doesn't tell them right away who he is. You know, like a lot of stuff happens before he admits to who he is, but it takes like some pretty scary stuff to happen before people are starting to cotton on to like, wait a minute, this guy looks like the picture of Pruitt, Monsignor Pruitt, as a young guy. And that's after a point where, you know, the people that make the connection are like, they have to realize that because of what's happened, they have to realize that, oh shit, this guy's a vampire. And that is scary. But the intelligence of the evil is so crafty that they've just sort of piggybacked onto those vampire sounding like scriptures, right? Like, how are you going to argue with the Bible? How are you going to argue with your Monsignor telling you? And so what people don't realize is before he tells them, and after things have gone on for a while, they're doing the communion ritual, which in their church, they do drink of the wine and eat of the, I can't remember, the holy wafer. It's some kind of wafer, the communion wafer. And one day, there's a girl that's in a wheelchair, and she used to be like fully able, and something happened to her, and so she lost the use of her legs. And he's going to give her communion, and he's, you know, reaches out to her to hand her the wafer, and then as she moves forward, he moves back, right? And then she keeps coming, and the people in, I know it's not an audience, but I can't think of the religious word for the group of people. Oh, the congregation, duh. So the congregation is like yelling or like vocalizing, and they're dismayed. They're like, why are you taunting the crippled child? And he keeps backing up, and he gets to the dais, and he has to go up 2 steps, and you know, like most wheelchairs are not equipped with stymie. There goes the spoonerism again. There goes the stair. They don't come with stair climbing features like mine didn't. You have to pay extra for that. So then the congregation is like, what is wrong with you? Why are you taunting her? And things of that nature. And he's going, have faith, give her a moment, be calm, be calm. So because they're so church whipped, they don't dare, you know, contradict the priest too much, but they're, you know, making it known that they're disturbed, they're dismayed, like, what are you doing? And then he's telling him, have faith, be calm, and he looks at her and he says, you can do it, just get up, come on, and then she does. And so a miracle has happened, and people go flippy, you know, like, but they're not, like, they're kind of joyful, but there is an undertone of like, something ain't right about this. At least that's how I perceived it. And then not long after that, you see people's eyesight get better. You see chronic back pain go away. You see one of the congregants, well, actually, she's not a congregant. This one character, her mother is, though, and that goes back to this dishonest priest and love stories, because they do have true love. And this doctor, who is the daughter of this woman who is a congregant, actually, the Monsignor is her father, okay? So there was forbidden love. Really forbidden love. Like, I guess this is not one of those non-Roman Catholic denominations where they have like priests that can have conjugals, so they keep a secret of it. And this woman, the mother of the forbidden child, has, she's aged and she's gone into like senility or something. And once the father returns and starts like giving the communion again, the sacrament, the blood sacrament, is renewing people. Hi, vampire stuff. Okay, so I think that's probably enough spoiling. I just want to point out a few things. Like, oh man, I could have just looked this up when I was before I started this. I didn't, again. So I just want to say, there's an actor that I saw in here. He doesn't have like a big role. He does have some speaking toward the end of where he appears. But you see him a couple of times, and I just thought it was funny and ironic. If you have watched the Van Helsing series that was on SYFY, there's a character in there that for most of the time is known as Flesh, and then at some point he gets unvampired and is upset with what he did as a vampire and just hates it and does not want to be called by his vampire name and is insisting to be called by his given name, Phil. So Phil/Flesh is in here in the cast. He doesn't have a huge role, but you do see him. So props to him. That's why I bring him up. I want to mention that there are saving graces in this movie, and they're not all of the type that you would expect if you associate saving graces with people. So out of the population of this island, those that are still human that survive are very few. Two, I think. And then, but everyone else, though, who I think just because they were slow to react and slow to want to believe, like just what kind of being their beloved monsignor actually is and who he answers to, his angel. He's still calling this thing an angel. At some point, though, a lot of the people realize, like, this is not what we want to be. Like, they fight the compulsion to drink blood and to attack people, and they're in pain, but they go to their faith, they sing their hymns, they, go to the arms of their loves, and that's how they get through it until the sunrise, because some of them are now vampires, and the sun's going to take them away. And so that's a beautiful part. Like, that's an uplifting little piece thrown in there, hidden subtly, sort of. Not really. It depends on how you look at it, I guess. But I think one of my favorite savings of the grace was that Bev, who really just, boy, she just got more evil as it went along. She was just really terrible. Props to that actress, too. Was her name was Samantha Slayan. She was really good. Like I said, I kept yelling at the TV, okay, just go, just go, just go. In fact, there's one part where, she's all smug because she's a vampire and people have guns. She's like, well, I'm just gonna, come to life again, so go ahead and shoot me. And then she's like gonna go on. I was like, man, she just don't know when to shut up. The person with the gun is just like, bam, just shoot me, bam. And I was like, thank you, finally. Somebody finally, like, spoke up to her. And then someone had before that too. But if you watch the show, which I recommend, it was very entertaining, very thought-provoking. It, even made me look at myself in a lot of ways. A lot of this stuff often does. So, something that I haven't been doing, which I don't know why I didn't think of it. Stoner. What I'm listening to, I am just gonna link it. I'm just gonna say though about this song. It is Sean Smith from Satchel performing "Suffering," and it's one of my favorite songs, but it's one of my they're one of my favorite groups for their very, sorry about that, atmospheric quality. And this song, he talks about a lot of things, and they're meaning, like, not in a linear fashion, but some things that he says in the song have meaning for me in the moment right now. I mean, that could change. Different things that he says in the songs could affect me differently in other moments. But it is like a sadness inducing song, kind of like, sort of like a breakup song, I guess. I'm not really sure. You'd have to decide that for yourself. But when I first discovered these guys, I was still living in Seattle, and it was still raining all the time, and this is kind of a sad music invoking kind of a deal. And it does happen to be rainy today. I did start listening to this again a couple of days ago, this particular recording. It's a live one. But when I started listening to him, I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't even in a relationship, but I still could appreciate, like, just the quality that it brought up in me, how it made me feel. So I just love it. And he's a very talented musician. And if you go ahead and click on the link, you'll see that he's wearing like a straw hat, like a, I mean, I forget what, a fedora, I guess, or I don't know, the hats that everybody was wearing for a while, not a pork pie. I don't know, they were like totally everywhere a couple of years ago. Look, think back, you know what I mean. He always wears a hat, so I don't know what he's got going on underneath. He might be bald as a doorknob on top, which doesn't matter. But the reason why I'm talking about him and his hats is because usually he looks like he should be in a saloon. It's a piano guy. Okay, silliness over. Do I need to say anything else about this? I don't think so. I think I covered everything, and that would be thank you and good night.